Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Anna, and I am with the New Mexico Small Business Development Center. Today, we have Eddy Mindlin joining us, who is a SCORE mentor and outreach coordinator. Eddy is an author, public speaker, and sales coach, and will be presenting 3 steps to attracting and retaining customers. We will be using the Q&A function to take questions and welcome attendee participation, so don't hesitate to ask us any questions you may have. We'll answer those at the end of the webinar. And then Eddy, if you wouldn't mind proceeding to the next slide. There should be one about COVID-19 business resource links. Next slide, thanks. Excellent. This slide features some COVID-19 business resource links, which I'm not going to go over in detail as we're going to send you a copy of the presentation at the end of the webinar. Please visit our website at nmsbdc.org to view our upcoming no-cost webinars or to sign up for our no-cost counseling services. I will also send a follow-up email to you with this information. Thanks so much for joining us. And without further ado, I'll hand it over to you, Eddy.
Thank you, Anna, and welcome to everybody who's on this. As Anna said, I'm a SCORE volunteer, which I really enjoy. And so we partner with Anna and the Small Business Development Center to give you these webinars. And as she said, there's quite a few that we put on, meaning myself, and then there's people that are volunteers with SCORE that talk about financial things, and as SBDC does, SCORE does as well, where we offer a lot of free things, basically just to help people run a small business or start a small business, because there's a lot to it. So I'm going to be talking about sales, as Anna said, and I'm going to talk about 3 main areas that have to do with sales. And my goal for all of you when you leave this meeting in an hour is to say, wow, I got some points from Eddy that I'm really going to use. I got some things that make sense. I got some things that maybe I've heard before, and Eddy said it, and maybe in a little bit different way, and I think I'm going to do that. And that's really my only goal, is for you guys to have takeaways from this. So I want you to have fun and learn things that you can use. So we'll start with this. Now we're looking at the screen here with 2 sports people, and you're probably wondering, what does all this have to do with sales? Well, these guys have everything to do with sales. I correlate athletics to sales in many different ways. So I'm going to start with Peyton Manning, who's on the left. And as Anna mentioned, I am an author. And in my book, I quote a couple famous athletes as well as other people. And both of these people are quoted in my book. So we're going to talk about practice and preparation here, which have everything to do with sports and have everything to do with life, really. I mean, everything you do in life, and everything to do with sales. So Peyton Manning, most of you, I'm sure, are aware, was a famous pro quarterback for many years. Obviously very wealthy, had many coaches, was a great football player. And his quote that I have in my book says, "I have never left the field feeling I could have done more to prepare, and that always gave me peace of mind." So he talks about preparation, how important that is. And obviously he won the vast majority of the games he played, but the point is he was always prepared. And that has everything to do with a sales presentation, how to make a cold call, texting someone that might be a client, those kinds of things. Now, the lady on the right, her name was Pat Summitt, and she was the head coach of the University of Tennessee women's basketball team for many years. And prior to that, she was a player in her own right. And she was one of the best coaches ever. And so she talks about practice. And her quote that I have is, "Most people get excited about the games. I have to get excited about practice because that's my classroom." So the point is, her classroom as a professor of basketball, if you will, was to teach the kids the things that they needed to do so that when they performed on the field or on the basketball court, they were their best. And so I want to keep this, you guys keep this in mind, because sports is so important. And I'll mention this now and maybe later, is that these people are wealthy. And if you look at any pro athlete, you look at any actor, dancer, it doesn't matter what they are. Anybody that's very wealthy, like these people, they all have coaches. And a lot of people kind of have I don't know, there's kind of a stigma for people that aren't multimillionaires, unfortunately, that, oh, I don't want a coach. I don't need a coach. I'm fine. My life is perfect. My business is perfect. My family is perfect. Well, we all know that doesn't exist. So the point I want all of you guys to think about is that we all need ongoing coaching, which I'll talk about a little bit later. So there is an art to selling. A lot of people think, and I'll just give you, I like to give examples about myself because I think that makes it relatable to you guys. So I like to share a little bit about myself. So when I first started selling back in the early 80s, you know, I'm outgoing, I like people. Okay, here's some, and I was, by the way, for those of you that don't know, my primary career before I got into coaching was representing manufacturers that make floor covering products, carpet and tile and wood and things like that. So it's like, okay, here's some sample books. You're outgoing, go get them. And it's like there was no training. It's like unbelievable. Now, unfortunately, there's a lot more training, but there is an art to selling, and that's what I want you guys to be aware of. It's not just go do it. It's like, how do you do it? Just like there's an art to dancing, there's an art to football. So I talk about the importance of a coach a lot, that we need ongoing coaching, as I talked about with the athletes. And the main, I should say, one of the main reasons is we cannot see what we're doing wrong ourselves. And another thing I'll share with you is one of the reasons I was successful in my floor covering business, and I was what's called a manufacturer's rep. So I was on straight commission my whole career, which I love. Now, most people, that's pretty scary. And of course, it was scary for me a lot. But, and I apologize, I'm eating a lozenge and unfortunately getting over COVID, which I'm 90% over. So I apologize for that. But I did survive it, so that's good. So we can't see what we're doing wrong. And I always had coaches. I mean, I still do, even though I'm, you know, retired and I do volunteer work, I still want to improve on, you know, the quality of my coaching. How am I doing in these presentations? I mean, I'm not doing it for money, but I love constructive feedback. So my point to you guys is I highly suggest, whether it's with the SBDC, SCORE, any organization, friend, is have at least one and hopefully more coaches, people that you can bounce ideas off of. I just think that's so important. So the goal, of course, is to increase sales. That's what we want to do. A lot of people think, you know, I'm just going to get, Eddie will help me get new customers, which of course I do, but retaining the current clients you have, if you have any, is very important. So because the, excuse me, the cost of getting a new client is way more as far as time, energy, you know, psychological energy, spending time on the computer, going out and seeing people. It really takes a lot of effort to get a new customer. So what you don't want to do is lose the existing clients you have, which means you better take good care of them. So take action, invest in yourself, like I've been talking about. And I don't mean necessarily financial, because a lot of these things are free through the SBDC or through SCORE or maybe other organizations. There's just a lot of free information out there. So this is kind of funny because this is a bunch of salespeople kind of thinking about what they're going to do. Okay, now we're going to get into the three specific areas that I want to talk about. And the first is organization. Now, I happen to be highly organized, and the other two things I talked about, I'm, you know, pretty good at. And that's not bragging, that's just saying I happen to be good at those things. There's a million things I'm horrible at, and I'm the first to admit it. So what I want you guys to understand is that if there's which there are 360 degrees in a circle. Okay, so I'll use my hands as an analogy. So there's 360 degrees. I think everybody is good at about this much stuff, whatever it is, whether you're a surgeon, whether you're a doctor, any kind of doctor, an engineer, professor, a landscape architect, but nobody is good at all the kinds of things that we have to do in life. Okay, so the point is, what I always focus or tell people to do is stay in your lane, meaning do the things that you're really good at, and the things that you're not good at, whether if it's finance or if it's marketing or if it's personal things, taking care of your lawn, things that you just don't like to do, and you'd rather spend your time doing things where you're more efficient, go ahead and do those things. So, but these three things I'm going to talk about are the three things that I think are really important. So organization is the first thing. I don't know how anybody can run a successful business if you're not organized. So I'm going to tell you how I still am and was organized. I'm going to tell you my system. What I want you guys to all have is your system. So in no way am I trying to tell you do this or do that. I'm just trying to get your mind working so that you think, wow, I'm not as organized as I should be. I really don't know what I'm going to do today or tomorrow or next month or next year. So I have on my desk 2 stacks in little folders, and I worked on pieces of paper. Now, most of you will everything will be on the computer, and that's fine. Like I said, I don't care how you do it. I'm just trying to tell you how I organize myself. So I worked in the floor covering business a lot with architects that design buildings. So I'll use that as the analogy. So what I would do is I would find out about a specific project. So architect A is working on designing a school or a church or whatever. And then I would ask that architect, I would put everything that I knew about that project on a piece of paper. So those are my notes that I would keep track. And this is what you guys need to do too, is every prospect, every person you're trying to, you want them to become a client of yours, you've got to keep track of them. And then in the top right corner, I would put a follow-up date. And that's when I would follow up. And I had my notes there so that when I went to see them again or talk to them on the phone, I had that information. Okay, so the top stack is projects that I'm going to work on December of 22. The bottom stack is projects that I'm going to follow up on starting January of 22, literally until the end of time. So if somebody says to me in a conversation, Eddy, I'm designing this building, or whatever product or service you're selling, you talk to a prospect, and what you want to do at the end of every conversation is say, I'd like to follow up with you at the appropriate time to stay in touch with you and let you know more information about my product or service. When would be the appropriate time to get back with you? And then you put a follow-up date. Okay, so at the end of every week, I would take out the projects that are on the top shelf, and I would decide which ones I'm going to work on that specific week. Now, many of you that are in sales, or even if you're not, you might have heard of the funnel system. And literally you have all these things to do in life, and you're trying to funnel it down to what am I doing right now? What am I going to do this afternoon? Because if we all have 20 things or 200 things, it's overwhelming for the brain to think about. We all understand that. Okay, the bottom stack of projects, I would take out the whole stack at the end of every month. So at the end of December, I would take those out, and any project that said 1/22, I would move to the top file, or the top stack, I should say. So I hope that makes sense. That, and then every weekend, and I would do this on the weekends, by the way, is I would take out the top stack, and I'm narrowing down what I'm gonna do. So I hope that makes sense. I had a good old-fashioned calendar where I would put down names of, or the actual appointments that I have out of the office. So I had a calendar for all my actual appointments. I had a weekly to-do folder, which is just a manila folder that opens up. And basically on the right side, I had a college ruled piece of notebook paper that had to do with each thing that I was going to follow up on that week. And that correlated to those projects I talked about earlier. So in that top stack, if I had 20 projects and 5 of them I was going to follow up on that week, I would put that in the manila folder on the left side. And then on the right side, I had this piece of notebook paper and I would put, project A, project B, whatever. And then I had my notes to go along with it over here. So I had the list of things I was going to do, and then all my notes, a piece of paper to go with that correlated with each one of those specific items I was going to follow up on. I had a database where I kept track of all my customers so I could quickly find their information, where their address, who worked at a company, all that kind of thing. I think it's really important to plan at night or plan on the weekends. And like I talked with the sports people in the first slide, is the planning is so important on a consistent basis, whatever works for you. If that's Friday late afternoon, if it's Saturday sometime, it doesn't matter. But you want to plan during non-business hours. I had what I called the ABC list, which was simply prioritizing my prospects or my customers. Now, a lot of people would think, oh, Eddie, your A customers were your biggest ones. That was not necessarily the case. And let me make this very important distinction, is that an A client in my book is somebody where there's mutually beneficial relationship. There's a mutually beneficial relationship. I, as the professional salesperson, and you, as a professional salesperson offering a product or service to whomever, you are doing things in a professional way. And in turn, that prospect or that client is professional also. So you're treating each other with respect. Now, we all know in life, unfortunately, that doesn't happen as much as it the golden rule or no one act on it. So the client is somebody where you care about them and they care about you, appreciate what you do. You're bringing something to the table that they need. You're a professional person. You're a professional salesperson. Now, the big clients are, of course, the majority of them, where they're pretty good clients, but you don't fortunately have
Eddie, you're muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, did you just lose the slides?
Yeah. I don't
Just
know what
have
happened.
to reinitiate
Oops,
that
there they
share
are. There they
screen.
are. Can you see that?
Not yet. I think you have to reinitiate the share screen. Sorry about that, everyone.
Okay, sorry guys.
Okay, yeah, we're seeing it again now.
Okay, so do I have it in the right format?
No, just go ahead and do the, play from current slide or start or wherever.
Oops. Okay.
Excellent.
Okay, we'll get there. Sorry, guys. Okay, are we there? Are we okay, Anna?
Yes, we are all good.
Okay, sorry about that. So again, the A clients, it's a relationship. And that's what I want you guys to understand is selling is a relationship. That's the bottom line. I mean, do they like you or do they not like you? Do you like them or do you not like them? It's really that simple. And we all know in life, we can't be liked by everyone. So everyone's not going to like us. And obviously we're not going to like everyone, you know, so you've got to find those A clients, and I would have discussions with them. And I suggest you do this too at some point, is tell people, and you don't have to say A, B, or C. You can just say, you know, you're a really important client to me, and I want to do a better job so that we can be even more important to each other. And let me restate that, because what you don't want to do is say to somebody, I want you to buy more from me. I mean, nobody wants to hear that. So it's all about you or me as the salesperson. So what you say to the person is, I've really enjoyed getting to know you, and I hope you're enjoying getting to know me and the product or service that I can offer you. And I want us to have a really better or a really good business relationship. Please tell me what I can do so that we can have a really improve our relationship and even be even more important to each other. I think that's an important thing. The C clients are more transactional, where they may buy something once in a while, but they're really not that important. And you want to, excuse me, you want the people to move up from C to B and B to A. And that's why having the discussion without telling them, you know, how they rank, I think that's an important thing. Being efficient, which is a lot of the things I've already talked about. So you want to try to be highly efficient with your time and what you're doing. And think about the things that you do every week or every month and what works and what doesn't. And that's why having a coach is so good, because a coach can help you decide, you know, you're doing 10 things and 5 of them are working pretty well, but the others aren't. So forget it. And there's nothing wrong with that. And that's what every pro athlete does. That's what everybody that's very wealthy, that's what they do. They try things, but if it doesn't work, that's okay. So be efficient in what you're doing. One of the best compliments I used to get from time to time is, Eddie, you don't seem to work that much. Now, this was not at the beginning of my career. Please let me state that very strongly. When I started my own business in 1988, for several years, I mean, I worked a lot. Okay. But then what happens with this system that I have, and I want you to have, or a similar system, is it becomes a well-oiled machine. Okay. You don't have to do a lot to it because you're so organized. One of the things I really liked about my system is if somebody said to me, Eddie, I think, you know, let's just say I'm going to talk to a law firm about their flooring or any business, it doesn't matter. And they say, you know, I think next summer we might do some remodeling at our church or our business. Okay. So I put down to follow up with them June of 22. Well, what's nice for me about that is I know that I have something to work on next June. Now, I may not get the project, but I'm following up with them at the appropriate time. So I was a well-oiled machine. I hope that makes sense. And we're going to have time for Q&A after this, by the way. And just another thing, just to mention, some people think, you know, well, let me just say it this way. Sales, like everything else in life, is ongoing. You're not going to come to a seminar with me for an hour, or anybody else is not going to give you a talk for an hour, and you're going to walk away an expert. It just doesn't happen. Okay, the next topic is follow-up, which really goes hand in hand with the organization, but I want to give you some specifics. And another thing I want to tell you is I've made many, many mistakes in my career. And my whole goal now, being retired and wanting to help people like all of you, is that hopefully you make fewer mistakes than I do. But mistakes are inevitable. So don't be upset when you make a mistake or something's not working. But get help, have somebody to talk to. Okay, so I used to try to guess when an architect or a facility manager at a school or a building, wanted me to get back with them. Well, that was the wrong thing to do. I did that for many years. Because then you follow up too soon, or you follow up too late and you miss the order. So I learned, just ask them. Most people, that's what they want to know. Just be upfront and honest with them and just say, when would you like me to follow up with you? It's that simple. And they'll say, well, thanks for this information you've given me. Let me digest it. I'm sure I'll have some questions. How about getting back with me in a week or 2 months? Or it doesn't matter, is the point I want you guys to know, because you are doing what the prospect or the client has asked. So just say to them, when would you like me to follow up with you? And then you do it. And I guarantee you, if you do that one thing, stay in touch with people on their schedule when they ask you to, you are going to see huge improvements in your business. Stay in touch with everyone, because you never know who may be a good prospect. Sorry about the coughing. You never know when you're going to get leads from somebody. There may be people in your life, they will never pay you $1 for anything, but it's who they know. And let's face it, that's so critical in sales. So try to find people, whatever the area that you're selling in, try to find people that have contacts in that area, because they can refer you to people. And that is so powerful. And that's why it's important to stay in touch with everyone, even if you never make $1 off of them, is they are a person you want to follow up with and talk to every month or every 3 months or whatever. And so even if they're not going to buy from you, but they're a great source of leads, you want to keep them in your system so that you always know when you're going to get back with them. You want to be one step ahead of the client. One of the worst things that I've found in sales is that, and I have to deal with this now, and I know all of you do too, when you're calling, your phone company or, any big company, is their customer service is terrible. They don't let you know what's going on. So I'll give you another specific example, which has to do with floor covering. So if a bunch of carpet is supposed to be shipped today to a client of mine that's supposed to install this carpet in a building next week, and there's a delay, it's my job to let them know. And nobody wants bad news, but people would rather be told now the news rather than a week from now when they've got their installers ready to go, they've got everything ready to go, and then you tell them, then they're going to be really mad. So the point is, the client should not have to call you basically for anything. So that's why you want to always let them know. You want to be proactive, because whatever product or service you're selling, you're one small part of their life. And so I think that's an important thing to know. Be prepared. And what I mean by that is, anytime you're making a phone call to somebody, you're sending a text, you're going to see them face to face. What is the purpose of the meeting? We've all gone to many meetings. I should say most of you probably have. I know I did. And you walk out of the meeting and it's like, what was the purpose of that meeting? I mean, really? I'm dealing with a situation right now where somebody that I do some work with, volunteer work, is planning a meeting that I think they're disorganized. It's like, oh my gosh. So the point is, and that's what's so neat about having those pieces of paper or on your computer, is in the middle of the night or when you're out for a walk or you're doing something else and you think, oh, this person, I want to talk to him or her about this, go put it on the list. And then when you're going to talk to them next week or in 2 months, that's on your list and you know exactly what you're going to talk to that person about. Okay, most of you are familiar with the 80-20 rule, and I'm going to tell you about the 80-20 rule, and I'm going to talk to you about what I call the 20-80 rule. So the 80-20 rule is that 80% of your income if you're in sales, will come from 20% of your customers. And that's pretty universal. If you have 100 clients, 20 of them, you kind of can't live without. Okay, that's just the way it is. But you don't want to lose the other 80 because they may become a very important customer. Now, the flip side of that is that of all the things that you guys do on a daily or weekly basis, I'm convinced that 80% of it will not be effective. Now, that's not a bad thing. It's just so you're aware of it. So focus, like I said before, focus on what works and don't keep doing things that don't make sense and aren't working for you. I want to tell you about a big project that I sold by staying in touch with people. And like I said, the second point on this slide is stay in touch with everyone. So there was an architect that I worked with for many years. He was a small firm, but a very nice person. And I had done a couple little projects with him where he used my floor covering. Well, but I stayed in touch with him, even though, he wasn't an A client or probably even a B client. But because I stayed in touch with him over a long time, he called me and said, Eddie, I have this big project that a person owns this building, and they've hired me to do the architecture work and to oversee all the construction, and they're going to totally remodel this building. And I want you to handle the floor covering. It was mostly carpet. And I said, oh, that's great. So the short story is excuse me, I got the project. I took great care of them. I treated because I stayed in touch with this architect over a long period of time. And that's what I want you guys to do too. Discount anybody. Say the new. These are the people that you want to fire or don't want to keep working, try to work with. If they're dishonest, or if they're just telling you, look, I appreciate the product or service you got, I really don't think there's ever a chance I'm getting product. That's okay. But anybody else, keep playing away with them. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the psychology of sales. Now we're going to talk about psychology, which I'm convinced is everything in life, is psychology. Okay, so number one is you want to work on yourself. And as we all know, that's not an easy thing to do. And I can tell you that 90% of people in the world will never do anything to work on themselves. And that's a sad state of affairs, but I think it's true, unfortunately. And that's where having a coach, having friends, just saying, hey, what do I do that's good? What do I do that's kind of bad? I'm going to talk in a few minutes about some things that I've done that kind of bugged people, but try to work on yourself. The next thing you want to do is try to understand each prospect or each client's their psychology. Now, in no way am I suggesting you try to change anybody. I mean, it's hard enough to work on ourselves. So, in any relationship, personal or business, hopefully all of you know that it's almost impossible to get somebody else to change. So we're the only ones that can change to try to deal with a situation that might be unpleasant, whether it's personal or business. But the point I want to get across to you guys is I want you to understand the psychology of people. And let me give an example. So with an architect. So, obviously I called on many architects over many years. Some of them were really friendly. Some of them gave me a lot of their time. Some of them weren't so friendly. So one lady in particular, I called on a lot. She was a good architect, but I remember the first time I went to see her, she took me into her conference room and she didn't even sit down. Well, I'm very perceptive, which I think is another thing about psychology that's very important. So it told me this lady's she's in a hurry. She's got other things to do besides chat with me. So I didn't talk about the weather. I didn't talk about anything else. I just introduced myself, showed her my samples, probably said, when can I get back with you, and left. Now, other times I'd meet with her and she was a lot more casual. She probably didn't have any deadlines or whatever, and she spent, more time with me. So your goal is to try to understand the clients. So some things to think about, and I'll use me as an example, is how much do you talk? I'm not a bashful person, anybody that knows me. So, but I've had to work over my career in personal life and business is to keep my mouth shut. And there's ways I've done that, which I'll tell you in a minute. Do we talk too loud? Do we interrupt? Are we smiling? Are we aware of our body movements as we're sitting there having a conversation with someone? Regarding smiling, people can, if you're on the phone with somebody, they can tell whether you're smiling or not. So that's something you might want to think about, is put a little sticky note on your computer or something, or on your wall in your office that says smile, because it makes you come across as a more friendly person. Eye contact is really important, and listening versus hearing. We all hear things all the time, all kinds of traffic noises, birds singing, but listening is an art, to really pay attention. And I'm going to tell you how this is an interesting statistic. The best listeners are the most well liked. And I could give you many examples of this, but asking someone, and you can use this at a cocktail party, at any kind of a social gathering, if you're uncomfortable, or even if you're not uncomfortable, but is ask about the other person. Hey, tell me about yourself. Tell me about your family, whatever, and just stand there and listen. And most people will talk and talk and talk. And the psychology behind this is, if you are a good listener, people will perceive you as an interesting person. I mean, I've had many times where I've just sat and listened to people talk, and they'll tell me, "Oh, Eddie, it was so great to get to know you and spend some time with you." And I just smile, because I know they don't know anything about me, and that's not a bad thing, but they've done all the talking. So, but because and believe me, I've had to work on being a good listener, and it's really an interesting statistic. Try to listen without the intent to respond. We're not TV interviewers. We're not on radio, we have 10 questions we have to get through in 3 minutes. So if you can just listen without the intent to respond and just let the person keep talking, that's a very powerful thing. Now, one of the things I've done is I take notes, which I've kind of always done, but the last many years I've done that a lot more, and that is really good, because as someone's talking, you write down notes. Well, that does a couple things. It helps you remember, and remember I talked back to my system with the top stack and the bottom stack. So when you're at a meeting with somebody, whether it's on the phone or Zoom or in person, is you're taking notes. And when you take notes, obviously it helps you remember what you talked about last week or last year. You've got all your notes right there, just like a doctor. They keep notes on their patients so they can refer to what's going on with that patient. Well, the other thing it does with taking notes is it shows that you care. So write things down that they say. It's really important. I need a helper, is something I do in person. It's kind of hard on the Zoom, but basically I'll run through it. Is if you were all in a room and I was at the front of the room, I would ask one of you to come up, excuse me, and I would say, stand 10 feet up from me, and then we're going to walk towards each other as though we were in the same building and we're just greeting each other in the morning. So we start walking towards each other, and I say hi and you say hi, and we just keep going about our day, and that's it. Okay, then I say, let's do this again. And we start walking towards each other, and you say hi, and I say, hey, how you doing? And I kind of put my hand out like this, how's it going? I know you were out a couple of days last week, or you had a family situation. Tell me how that's going. What's going on? The point I want you to understand with the psychology of sales is you're really showing that you really care about the other person. And that's what sales is really about, is caring about the other person. You're there to solve a problem. All people buy things because they have a problem. So the deeper you can have, the deeper relationship you have with a business prospect or client, the better you're going to do, as opposed to, hi, I'm Eddie, I'm a salesperson. Okay, I'm this person, I'm a potential buyer. It's like you're trying to get past that a little bit, where maybe you know something about that person. I don't mean real personal, but and I want to, as long as we're on this topic, I think this is really an important topic, is I call it the underlying current. So when I would go see somebody and talk to them about flooring, I mean, right away they knew I was a floor covering salesperson. I mean, that's easy to understand, okay? But what made me hopefully better than my competitors is I listened carefully, and I got to know things about most of my clients and prospects, that they like to cook, or they had a dog, or they like to travel, or it doesn't matter what it is. So my point to you guys is, try to, as it's appropriate, not at the first or second meeting, is ask the person, well, tell me a little bit about yourself. Because when you say, tell me a little bit about yourself, and I think I'm going to get to that in the next slide, is that's not going to offend anybody. You're not asking anything personal. So keep that in mind, that try to know something about each of your clients that has nothing to do with what the product or service you're selling. Because it's pretty neat when you go call up a client, or you go see him or her, and you're talking about fishing or travel or cooking. It doesn't matter what it is. It just, they're going to spend more time with you because they're like, wow, we have something in common. We're now going to talk about communication, which is really part of psychology, and this is a great stat. So what I'm telling you right now, so 55% of what you're hearing now and what you hear from people is nonverbal. 38% is the tone of voice, which I always have to work on a little bit. And only 7% is the words, which this always fascinates me, but it's pretty amazing. So that's why I talked about earlier on the previous slide, is think about your body movements, things that you're doing that might not be so good. Think about the things that you do that are good. Think about your tone of voice. Are you smiling? Do you seem happy? Only 7% of what people hear from us is the actual words. So I've specifically learned, I used to click a pen because I was nervous sometimes in a meeting. Well, guess what? That's no good. I've learned to talk softer. Okay, click the pen, and taking notes. So what are the things that you do in a meeting that you think are really good? What are the things that aren't so good? And everybody has strengths and weaknesses. So, and that's where friends of yours can help you out, and coaches can help you out. The words, please tell me, I use numerous times every day. And since I put this slide together, I've actually added the words at the beginning. Will you please tell me? And it's a great way of asking anybody anything. Family members, business associates, people you're trying to sell to. If I were to say to any of you, will you please tell me about please tell me about will you please tell me about yourself? Well, you're going to tell me what you feel comfortable with. You're going to tell me where you work, maybe what sports you like, what you like to watch on TV, that you have a dog or cat, but you're not going to tell me anything personal, and that's fine. So the point I'm making is it's a nice way. I do this all the time on emails, all the time. Because you have to be so careful with the written word too. I mean, most people, and I've learned to try to communicate with a lot of people like they're fifth graders, because we can't use words that are too big or they don't understand. We cannot use acronyms that we know because it's our business, but they don't know. That's not a good thing. So will you please tell me is just so powerful. And think about that for any family thing, any business thing. and then you just stop and listen. And so I'll say to people in an email, will you please tell me when you would like me to get back with you regarding this project? Well, that's a lot better than saying, hey, buddy, tell me when to get back with you. You don't want somebody to feel, and by the way, feelings are very important. You don't want them to feel that you're telling them what to do or anything like that. So if you say, will you please tell me when would be the appropriate time to get back with you? Will you please tell me about, how you buy this product or how you bought it in the past? It's a great thing to do. If you use the word so that or the word because, that will help you state the benefit. And in sales, there's features of the product or service you are offering, and there's benefits. And the only thing that's really important is what is the benefit to them. So I'll use an analogy for me, is I'm not a car person. So if I were going to buy a car and a car salesman starts telling me all about the engine, and I don't even understand it. So they're wasting their time, and frankly, they're annoying me. Okay, because there's no, now if they happen to say, well, Eddie, this is the size of motor, and the benefit to you is this, then it's like, okay, I get it. So my point to you is, you always want to state the benefit to the client, because everything you're the product or service you're promoting and selling, it's all about the customer, period. Okay, so let's use the example of a car that I talked about. Eddie, I think you should look at this car because you've told me about your family and the way you drive and da 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 da. And this car, and you should buy this car so that you will feel really safe in the car. You should buy this car because of the size of the motor that I told you, and the benefit to you is X, Y, and Z. So again, when you're trying to sum something up, what is it about your product or service that's the benefit? Use the word so that or because, and then state. That'll help you. Okay, next part talks about juggling, confidence. So I know how to juggle, so I'm not doing it now, but in my presentations, I juggle. It makes me memorable, okay? It gives me confidence that I can do things that most other people can't do. So I'm sure there's things you can do that other people can't do. I want each of you to have passion, fun, and profit. Let me explain that. So I get excited about talking to you guys. I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing this because I like it, and I'm trying to help each of you. So I hope that you can feel the passion that I have about sales and trying to help each and every one of you. So if each of you are passionate about the product or service you sell, what happens is it becomes fun. It's not a job. It's like, wow, this is fun. And next thing you know, you're making a profit. So if you can, I don't know how anybody could sell or promote a product they don't believe in or they're not excited about. So I'm passionate about sales. I know that most people don't understand that, and that's fine. There's a million things I don't understand, and I could come to each one of you for help on things that you're experts in. So try to have passion in what you do, and then you're going to have fun most days, not every day, but most days. And before you know it, you're going to start to make money because your customers, your prospects are going to see that you are excited about what you're selling, as opposed to, oh yeah, well, I sell this computer and, if you're interested, let me know. No, you can't do it. You got to go, hey, I want to tell you about this computer because it's so cool. And let me show you these things. So you have to be passionate. A presentation without a demonstration is just conversation. So again, I juggle, and that makes me memorable. And then what I do is I correlate the juggling to keeping track of clients, keeping track of all the things we have to do in our family. Go to the grocery store, take care of the kids, clean the house, whatever. So life is a juggling act, personally and in our business. So I juggle. So I use juggling because it's fun and it helps me be memorable, and I correlate it to what I'm selling. So I am highly suggesting that you guys come up with a demonstration for your product or your service that will be memorable, because that's what you want. You want to be memorable about the product or service. And again, if somebody just comes and talks and doesn't show anything, so I'll go back to carpet. If I were just to go tell somebody how great my carpet was, but I don't show them samples and let them touch it and all that kind of thing, it doesn't do any good. So try to come up with a fun demonstration. Okay, I'm going to end this with this, and then we'll have a few minutes for Q&A. So that's not a picture of me, but I did go to Philmont Scout Ranch in northern New Mexico when I was 14 years old. I grew up in Kansas City. I became an Eagle Scout when I was 14, and I was the scrawny kid that survived. And so I'm making fun of myself here, which is an important thing to do, to be able to laugh at yourself, because God knows everybody else will. So I had a harder time hiking in the mountains of northern New Mexico than your average 14-year-old boy. Now, I'm not embarrassed about that. I am what I am. I mean, I was a skinny, scrawny kid, okay? I wasn't, so that was different about me. But the point I want to make to you guys is I survived. And so we all have things that we have overcome in life, personal things, family things, business things that are very hard. Maybe it was scared to make that first sales call, maybe to make a cold call, which, by the way, next week I'm going to be doing a whole talk on cold calling. And anyway, so what I do on a weekly basis is and I get scared too. People are like, oh, I bet you never got scared to go see somebody or make a presentation. That's not true. I did. I had to deal with people that weren't so friendly or whatever. I had to do it. I had to sometimes really buckle down and go make money for my family because things got tough. So I drew on experiences, and that's what I want you guys to think about. What did you do last year that was scary and you overcame it? What happened when you were 10 years old or 20 years old or whatever? It doesn't matter. Think of things that you have overcome, because we've all overcome things, and sales is a big part of that, is the confidence to get out there and do it. So we've talked about the three ideas, organization, follow-up, psychology, and now it's time for Q&A if you have any. And I hope, again, like I said before, my only goal with this is that you all walk away with things that you're going to do or follow up on. So Anna, back to you.
Yeah, I don't see anything in the Q&A. Don't hesitate. Don't be shy. Go ahead and ask us questions. You can also raise your hand if you'd like, and I can unmute you, and you can have a direct conversation with Eddy. He loves those. So looks like we've got someone in the chat saying great tips. Thank you, Eddy. And then I also chatted through your cold calling handout for everyone. I will email that to you as well, but I'm not sure if you want to quickly address that, Eddy, or at this stage, if we want to just proceed.
I'll give you a quick overview. Yeah, okay, I'll give you a quick overview. So most people, because they, and I think it's true, all you is, and I'll just use the analogy of face-to-face, which would not be the case. So if you're going into a retail store or a business, the only thing you want to do is make the receptionist secretary. Your bill, I just wanted a card, and will you put your name? You want to get
Looks like we've got some technical issues here on Eddy's end, and he's hopping back on. So just thanks for your patience.
Are you there, Anna?
Yeah, I am. I think it's your internet, in all honesty, Eddy, but we did lose you. You are back now.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think you're right. Anyway, so it's a process, is the cold call. So the first thing you want to do is meet the receptionist. That's it. And then you want to find out who in their building or at their company or their school or church, who is the person that I should talk to down the road regarding floor covering. And then you leave and you thank the person, and then and you send them an email and you say, thank you very much for your time. And then you have a relationship with the receptionist, because you're always going to talk to that receptionist. And then you follow up with, the appropriate person. So there is an art to it. And Anna, are you going to send that out to everybody?
Yes, I did chat that through to everyone, and it'll also be emailed.
Okay, so I did a white paper several years ago on the cold call. And like I mentioned, next week at the same time, I think, right, Anna? We're doing,
yes.
I'll be doing a talk where I go into great detail on the cold call. So.
Yeah, that's on December 14th at noon, and I will chat through that link right now as well. You can access that on our website if you visit it. And here it is. And then your slide deck is not showing. I think we lost that when we lost connectivity with you. I don't know if you want to bring it back up for just those remaining slides, or if you're good as is. I'm fine with whatever.
Yeah, let me see if I can figure that out.
And thank you all for your patience with these technical issues. Appreciate it.
Yeah, sorry guys, am I coughing? Do you see my slides now or not? All right.
I do not. I think you have to reinitiate that share screen one more time.
Okay. Let's see. You see
Perfect.
it now, Anna?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
All right. And let me check the Q&A. There's nothing in there. And let me see if anybody's hands are raised. Looks like we are good there. So yeah, then we're just on to that last section here. Just want to let you know that the NMSBDC has 19 centers within New Mexico, including the Procurement Technical Assistance Center, an International Business Accelerator, and a Technology Commercialization Accelerator program. We are here to help you during any stage of your business, so don't hesitate to reach out to us. And then I believe the next slide is our resource partners, if you wouldn't mind pulling that one up, Eddie.
You see it now, Anna?
Yes. So we also have some resource partners such as SCORE, which Eddie is a part of, West, and Veterans Business Outreach Center, all of which are available to help you and your business. Again, we'll send you an email with all this information. So at this stage, if we don't have any questions, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Eddie, thank you so much. If there are any other last words you want to say, let us know. Otherwise, we'll just go ahead and wrap it up.
Well, being bashful, I guess I don't know what to say. Just kidding. But so all of you that are still on here, I mean, you're doing the right things by getting, going to webinars like this. And I really encourage you to keep doing this, because it's so important that, whatever you're doing in sales or whatever, running your business, it's important to keep listening to other people, and you never know when you're going to get a good idea. And that's why I say my philosophy with, like, when I was in business, going to lunches and things like that, and people would say, why are you going to that lunch, Eddie? It's $30. I said, because I might get an idea that could be worth thousands. And that's what I want you to keep in mind, is that keep doing these webinars with SBDC, because they're great. And, all aspects of your business, and come back for sales things, or get mentors, because you have to keep learning, because, and I did the same thing, just like every pro athlete. I mean, think about those people. They keep learning, they keep working on their game, literally. And that's what you guys need to keep doing, is working. Here's the last thing I'll say, is working on your business versus in your business. And the point is, we all get wrapped up in what we're doing every day, and we forget to step back from 10,000 feet or whatever and look and say, what am I really doing here? What am I doing? And that's really an important thing to do, because we all get wrapped up in the day-to-day. And anyway, so keep doing what you're doing. So good job coming to this. And again, I hope I enjoyed it. I hope you all got a couple points that you can follow up on, and will help you make tons of money and have fun.
Thanks so much, Eddie. And thank you everyone again for your attendance, and we will wrap it up. Thank you.